It is a university known as a hockey powerhouse.
Denver has won the national championship for the 8th time.
And then there's lacrosse,
Birdwell Ball
where the University of Denver Pioneers are among the country's elite, looking to repeat a national championship run. And it's not only athletics where DU students excel. The university is known for high academic standards where students come from across the country and around the world. And DU is known for its business school and its top-notch law school.
I have always been proud of DU because they teach people how to be lawyers.
Despite this reputation, Professor Lucy Marsh and other female professors in the law school had an inkling that their work was being devalued by the university.
When it would come to evaluation time, sometimes I wouldn't get as good marks, and it would just be, they kept moving the goalposts, basically.
In fact, male full professors at DU's law school were making thousands of dollars more annually than female full professors.
To realize it was every full professor who happened to be born female who was being paid differently was stunning.
And that has prompted a federal lawsuit by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
The charge here is that DU pays female law professors, full law professors, significantly less than they pay the male law professors.
Good evening, I'm John Ferrugia. Welcome to Insight. The EEOC suit, now in federal district court, has highlighted once again that even in 2017, women as a class are being paid less than men for doing the same work. Now, university officials admit DU pays these women professionals less, but they say it's justified because they contend they have a fair evaluation process that does not discriminate. But for the women professors who have been granted tenure and spent much of their professional lives teaching at DU, it has been a heart-wrenching disappointment.
He started teaching in 1927, just a few months after he graduated from DU.
Professor Lucy Marsh has a long history with the University of Denver Law School. She says her father, Thompson Marsh, was its first full-time law professor.
He was known as a really demanding teacher.
And she followed in his footsteps, beginning her DU career in the 1970s. She became known as a top-notch professor, even before he retired.
The students elected me to give the commencement address for the law school, and my father was giving the commencement address for the university. So you're the buyer of it.
She is now the longest-serving female law professor at the school.
I have always been proud of DU because they teach people how to be lawyers. It has a practical outlook on teaching students.
Good school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you enjoyed it?
I thoroughly. It is just plain fun to see people learn.
Did you ever have an inkling in your meetings that you weren't hitting the mark?
Absolutely not.
Yet in 2012, Marsh learned that she and every other full-time female professor teaching at the University of Denver Law School were making thousands of dollars less than male professors doing exactly the same job.
It made me realize that all the enormous amount of work I'd done and success with the students and one thing and another, they didn't care. And that's depressing.
Hurtful.
Yeah.
This odyssey of enlightenment for Lucy Marsh and her female colleagues began about 6 years ago when one professor asked the law school dean how some extra money was going to be budgeted.
She sent an email to Dean Katz and said, could you reassure us that women are getting paid the same as men? And he didn't answer. And then she made it a little more forceful and he didn't answer. And every time he didn't answer, the flag went up.
The law school dean sent out this memo just before the Christmas holiday in 2012. Lucy and her female colleagues were stunned. The median salary for female full professors was $7,532 a year, less than males before this round of raises, and $11,282 less than that for males after this round of raises. The mean salary for full female professors was $14,870 less than that for males before this round of raises, and $15,859 a year less than that for males after this round of raises. The dean listed 3 reasons for the salary disparity: difference in starting salaries, difference in merit raises, often over many years, and other circumstances like offers from other schools and lasting salary effects from holding administrative positions.
Something had to be done about that. That's against the law.
So, in early 2013, Lucy Marsh went to talk to the dean.
And I said to him, okay, what are we going to do about this? And he said nothing. And I thought, man, I'm not going to take that.
That led to Lucy Marsh's complaint to the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission alleging wage discrimination.
Lucy was a professor of mine, and she talked me into coming to DU as a student.
KK DeVivier has been teaching at DU for 17 years. She simply couldn't believe the disparity.
I felt devastated because I had been giving my heart and soul to DU. And actually, I've been the sole breadwinner in my family since 1997. I've got a couple kids. And you know, I could have used that money, and to know they were doing that, that was very, very hurtful.
It was a sense of betrayal.
Chris McDaniel-Michio, who has been teaching at DU for 15 years, is another of the 8 professors named in the EEOC suit.
I'm extremely proud of being at DU with these women, and I'm extremely proud of the men at the law school as well. So this has been a profound disappointment and a profound letdown.
A lot of employers have policies that say you can't discuss each other's salaries. And so lots of times people don't know that they're being paid less.
Mary Jo O'Neill is an EEOC regional lawyer from Phoenix. The office oversees several local federal offices, including Denver. She says it was because DU's violations were so egregious and the university has so far refused to make changes that the federal agency decided to sue on behalf of the female professors. In this complaint, it notes that the law school dean in 2012 recognized this issue.
Yes.
In fact, acknowledged it.
Yes.
Why is that important?
I think it's important for knowledge. If an employer knows that they have a problem and doesn't take care of it, we think that that is a very serious legal problem.
Of the more than 100,000 complaints filed nationally every year, EEOC lawyers file but a minute fraction in federal court. We have obtained data from EEOC for Colorado showing that Equal Pay Act complaints from 2011 through 2016 have fluctuated from 22 to 33 annually. During that same period, the Denver University case is the only equal pay litigation EEOC lawyers filed in federal court. Nationwide, agency lawyers took only 23 Pay Act cases to federal court. The DU professors never thought their complaint would ever make it to federal court. They thought it would simply be addressed by the dean.
I certainly expected him to say, okay, yes, I see what the problem is, I'm going to correct it. It had not occurred to me that anybody would intentionally continue that pattern.
But the university dug in, defending its salary system and hiring an outside firm to bolster its position. And once the EEOC suit was filed in the name of Lucy Marsh, DU went on the attack. In this release, Chancellor Rebecca Chop charged that the university's longest-serving female law professor's pay lagged behind her peers over time as a result of her substandard performance in scholarship, teaching, and service.
It was a dreadful thing to say. To say that about anybody in a private setting would be pretty terrible. And then to say it to every one of our grads is really a defamation that is a serious thing.
Many in the DU Law School were stunned by the chancellor's charge because the administration had honored Marsh in 2010 with an Excellence in Teaching Award.
We salute Lucy Marsh, the 2010 DU Law Star for excellence in teaching,
touting her career achievements in a university-produced video.
Lucy was a mentor and a role model to the first wave of women who came into the profession.
The university brought in donors to honor her at a dinner where she helped raise $30,000 to benefit the Student Law Office and a scholarship fund. Marsh is one of 5 female full professors of the 8 named in the federal suit who have been honored with this prestigious award. And most recently, she was honored by the Colorado Supreme Court for her charity work on Native American reservations. She has organized lawyers and students to help families with tribal wills that help equitably divide family and tribal land for future generations.
I think it's disappointing to go after somebody who has stood up for their rights.
We're promoted for tenure. We all were promoted to full professor, which meant that our scholarship was sent out to outside readers, experts in our field, twice.
You have to be exceptionally qualified to get tenure.
Right.
So there isn't any question that when the chancellor was talking about Lucy Marsh, he was talking about all of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No question about that.
Right.
No question.
All right, done.
It's very hurtful to be told you're substandard as a group, like all men are fantastic and all women are terrible. That's that's what it feels like.
The latest Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics show that in 2015, Colorado women made only 82.8% on average of what men made doing the same job. The ratio of women to men's earnings in Colorado has ranged from a low of 74.6% in 1997 to a high of 84.3% in 2003.
Women are getting paid less than men at every possible level in the workforce.
In its most recent analysis in 2015, the same federal agency found that is true. From the construction business, where women made more than 93 cents on the dollar compared to men, to educators, trainers, and librarians who made just over 79 cents on the dollar, and at the bottom of the list, those in the legal profession, including women lawyers and clerks, who received on average just above 60% of what men made.
Retirement benefits can be based upon a lower salary. Their Social Security might be less than it should have. So it's over an entire career, an entire lifetime for that woman and for their entire family that they're supporting.
We asked the administration at the University of Denver for an interview to discuss the university's position and response in the case. The university declined. It is also disparity in pay that has driven Valerie McNaughton, a lawyer and formerly chief hearing officer for the City and County of Denver's Career Service Office, to file suit against the city.
I discovered that the male hearing officer, who was hired at a lesser salary than me, had been earning more for several years.
And you didn't know that before?
I did not.
So she went to her bosses at the Career Service Board and asked about the disparity.
I said, I am the chief hearing officer. I am running the agency and doing a full caseload. And I am being paid less than the male hearing officer. And in this era where women are earning like 77% of what men are earning, this is a real problem for me. And they said, you are not the chief hearing officer, and you never have been the chief hearing officer. And they instructed me to stop using that title.
Records show she was hired as chief hearing officer in 2004. Her official city-printed business cards reflected her position. And official minutes of the Career Service Board for May 2004, when she was first hired, note that Valerie McNaughton is chief hearing officer. The city's job description of chief hearing officer includes a detailed list of management duties.
I was handling all the personnel matters, and I was doing every other task that it took to run the city agency.
McNaughton found that while she was hired for more money than her male counterpart, he was given consistently higher raises over several years, despite the fact she was fulfilling both a management and hearing officer role. She says she now gets paid about $7,000 less.
They told me that I was performing the management duties as a volunteer. Now that struck me as the way people have described women's work for generations.
McNaughton had practiced employment and EEOC law in the past, so she filed an EEOC complaint. And when she was found to have cause, she retained Charlotte Sweeney to represent her in the lawsuit.
At the time of hire, they definitely had two different job descriptions. The city has basically disavowed those and said, those don't apply, those were suggestions, but what you'll see is there's categories on which the employees are evaluated. Hers always has management of the office listed first, and that's what she's evaluated as first.
Both McNaughton and Sweeney point to a City Honors Award given to her for her top performance in her city job. It was signed and presented by the city's then head of Human Resources. It says here you're the chief hearing officer.
Yes.
You don't give an employee an award, an actual plaque for her valued service as chief hearing officer if she's not the chief hearing officer. It just makes no sense.
McNaughton freely admits that two of her employees complained about her management in 2011, even though she says the city never gave her any documentation or specific remediation plan other than an outside management course and an agency retreat. She was given low marks in that year's evaluation.
She's not defensive about any suggestion for improvement and did that rapidly, and nobody disputes that the environment, the complaints stopped.
But the question is, if she was never chief hearing officer with no specified management duties, then how could she be criticized for her management of the office?
She's being evaluated and punished for a job the city doesn't say she has. And clearly, in my mind, it's done to hide the reason why she's being paid less, and it's because she's a woman.
We asked the mayor's office and the Denver City Attorney's office for an interview to discuss the city's position on the issues in the lawsuit. They declined. The issue of equal pay for women is one the new president addressed in his first 100 days in office.
Cancel a federal regulation.
In March, Mr. Trump signed an executive order and a House resolution helping make sexual harassment claims private and rolling back wage transparency requirements. Government contractors no longer have to prove they are paying women the same as men for the same job before being awarded government work. A similar pay transparency bill was killed by the Republican-controlled Colorado Senate last year.
Just another mandate that doesn't help anybody with more reporting that actually costs more money for contractors, which makes jobs more expensive. There's already a law in the books that they have to pay equal pay for equal work.
State Senator Jerry Sonnenberg was on the Senate committee that in 2016 killed 3 bills related to equal pay and transparency. He is president pro tem of the Senate. He says, in his view, the pay gap is a myth.
I think the data that we're seeing takes the average salary for a full-time man versus the average salary of a full-time woman. And there probably is a difference there. Men are more willing to take riskier jobs that pay more. Women are less apt by statistic to work on weekends or in the evenings, probably to some degree because of their mothering instincts and family.
Sonnenberg says any difference in pay is not about gender.
Any relationship between an employer and an employee is that individual relationship. And that's where that negotiation has to take place. It's nobody's fault when someone gets paid less than others.
It is this reasoning in the workplace, in legislatures, and in the White House that frustrates those who are fighting for pay equity.
They've been practicing 40 years, but we have a long way to go before we hit real equality. We're still fighting this fight in 2017. We should be beyond this.
We have a statute in the last few years. I have a feeling of what DU could be, and I'd like to see them aim for that. Rather than spending this time defending something that I think is illegal, take the leadership. And as we have a good hockey team, we have a good lacrosse team. Let's be a school that sets an example of equal pay for everybody.
Denver University officials deny they have discriminated against University Law School female faculty and say they're committed to fair and equitable compensation. In response to our request for an interview, a University of Denver vice chancellor wrote in part, "The University of Denver has been wholly cooperative with the EEOC since the initial filing in 2013, even attempting to reach a settlement before the lawsuit was filed. Unfortunately, all attempts at reaching a settlement were rejected. Nonetheless, the University of Denver will continue to work with Professor Lucy Marsh and the remaining professors to achieve resolution." Meanwhile, the case is proceeding in federal court. Our similar interview request to the Denver Mayor's office was also met with a written response that reads in part, "The City and County of Denver believes it does not and did not discriminate against Ms. McNaughton regarding her compensation on account of gender. The city does not maintain policies or practices that have the effect of discriminating against individuals on account of their gender." We'll let you know the outcome of both these cases.